Well, clearly joining us from the San Francisco Bay Area there is Wolf
Clearly,
Hoffman
clearly,
from Accept.
I can change it to an island if that's what you prefer.
No, I love it. Wolf, this is great to have you here on the Road to Rock. We are being joined by Accept guitarist Wolf Hoffman, and it is such a pleasure for the first time to make this happen. And you reside, I believe, these days in Nashville, correct?
Yeah, not just these days. I've been there for like 30 years, for a long, long time. I like to think I was the first metal or rock guy in Nashville, just way before anybody ever heard of Nashville. Well, not really, but you know what I mean.
Has been a mass exodus. People that lived in LA, like everybody moved to Nashville. Whether you're a country singer, rock singer, it doesn't matter. Nashville's the place to be. And I just got back from there a couple weeks ago. I love the town. I just love it. Everything about it. The music, the people, the entertainment, it's all there. It's all right there. It's great.
It's a cool place to be, and the city has changed dramatically since I've moved there, but it's definitely a rock city or a music city for sure. And for us, it's great because I mean, even though we're making metal, there's all these facilities that we all need. There's crew people, there's like tour bus companies, so it's really built for music. And since metal happens to be music, or I'd like to think so.
I, I sure hope so. Otherwise, I don't know what I've been doing all these years. I
Yeah,
guess.
there you go.
Well, speaking of Nashville, I believe coming up here September 29th, Accept returns to America for the first time in 10 years, and the tour starts right there, conveniently, right there in Nashville at the Brooklyn Bowl, I believe. So first time in 10 years, Accept taking over America again. The internet
We're
has been
taking over. We're taking over, man.
man. It's great. The internet's been a buzz about it, and people are very excited. So this has got to be a great feeling. 10 years later, you guys are ready to conquer the States again.
That's right. And I really, if you ask me why haven't we done this sooner, I have no good explanation. We've just always been busy touring, Europe and South America and God knows where. It's just never amounted to a full-blown tour. Technically, we've done a few shows in the last 10 years, of course, here and there, but never a full-blown tour from coast to coast. So we're super excited to finally do this again.
Do you think America properly, accepts bands like Accept? I mean, we've heard Bruce Dickinson talk before about, America is kind of hit and miss, when it comes to, the popularity of metal or supporting hard rock. Do you think America accepts that you guys on a high level?
Do you mean accept?
Exactly.
Yeah, I know they do. I mean, heck, we've got a ton of fans everywhere. I mean, I hear it all the time. Why don't you guys play more in the States? And we'll have to see what the turnout will be on this tour. But I've got very good feelings about it. And yeah, you're right. I mean, it's sort of shifted a little bit away from America. I remember the 80s, like I do actually remember the 80s, believe it or not. And America was all about metal. I mean, wherever you went, it was on MTV, on the radio stations. Everybody was into metal back then. And then other things started to happen: grunge and hip hop and country, all these. But the metal fell a little bit by the wayside, and it's gotten stronger and stronger over in Europe and other parts of the world, and South America, like I said. So yeah, I hope it comes back full force to the States, or maybe it is already back and I don't know about it, but we'll find out on this tour.
No, that's a great way to go about it. And this is, kind of coming full circle for you guys, because I think, and I want to say it was Kiss's Creatures of the Night tour that you guys, that was your first tour here in America, right? Was opening for Kiss, Creatures of the Night tour.
But I don't know. I know the tour was called something else. I can't remember.
Okay.
But it was 84. That's all I know. Kiss fans know all this stuff. So I just have to ask my drummer, Christopher Williams, or a guitar player. They all know which tour it was, but I'm kind of dumb that way.
It was Animalized. It was Animalized. Sorry, yes.
There you go.
There we go.
One of those. But
we don't want those Kiss fans. Yeah, we don't want those Kiss fans after us for those details, because they come after you.
Yeah, I'm already going to be crucified over this. Sorry, guys.
Well, what was that tour like? What was just coming here? I mean, obviously, Kiss had they just done Creatures of the Night. They'd done Lick It Up, so the makeup's off. They kind of had more of a harder sound. They're playing fast. I think on Animalized, they were playing so fast, even their classic songs. So you guys fit in maybe more than you would have in 79 or 80. with Kiss at that time?
Well, I got to tell you a secret. I don't really know that much about Kiss, because they were never that. I mean, they were big in Germany, but they weren't as
This
massive
makes
as they were
sense.
here. So for us, it was a huge honor to open for Kiss, especially as the first American tour ever. So it was amazing. It was mind-blowing experience. But we were a bit taken by surprise, first of all, by the scale of everything, like arena tours and, pyro and forklifts and everything was massive. Didn't have that, and it didn't expect that. But also how dedicated those fans for Kiss. I mean, the whole phenomenon of Kiss took us a bit by surprise. Maybe, yeah. So anyhow, I don't know. I lost my train of thought here.
Well, well, that's right. And I'm here to steer the ship, and I will try to do that to the best of my abilities. But Wolf, I kind of want to go back to the year 2010 and what an important year that was for you guys, because you released Blood of the Nations, your first album since 1996 at the time. And
Right.
just what that I remember that album coming out and just absolutely being blown away. To me, that's still my favorite Accept album. Believe it or not, I think that album is absolutely tremendous, and that really got you guys going. I remember you guys being a part of a lot of bigger festivals at the time. That album, really took off, and I just take us back to that and how important that was. And you brought on, to me, a big part of that, of course, was bringing on Mark, your singer, who's been there in the fold ever since then. His powerful vocals just blew me away. Just kind of take us back to then and how important it was bringing on Mark, and then the release of that great album.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, Accept wouldn't be back if it wasn't for the fact that we found Mark. And we really just found him by chance. We weren't even thinking about reforming the band, or we didn't really audition people or any of that. It was just meeting Mark Tornillo during a jam session by chance that we decided to relaunch the band, because he was the voice that could make it happen. We were totally convinced when we heard him sing some of the old tracks that we were jamming on, like Fast as a Shark and Flesh Rockin' Man and songs like that, and it sounded like Mark. He's been in the band forever. I mean, it almost sounded like he was there all along, and that's why we decided, you know what, we could make new albums. We could do this again. I mean, Accept wasn't existent. Was practically, we didn't have a label. We didn't have shows. We didn't have a band. We didn't have anything. We just had the will and the drive to do it again, and we said, okay, if we're going to do this, we're going to make proper albums. We're going to really try to see how far we can take this. So yeah, and then that's when we wrote Blood of the Nations, and it was amazing. Now still to this day, when I hear this album, I think there's a great spirit on this album, due to the fact that we really had the drive and the energy to show to the world we still got it.
To this day, Rolling Thunder is my favorite Accept song ever. And I think
Wow.
off that album, it's amazing. And you guys did 5 studio albums since that time. I mean, that is just an incredible output from a band at the point, where you didn't know where things were. You didn't have a label. And to get that together and to kind of almost rebuild the Accept brand, you almost kind of had to rebuild the brand of
Oh
Accept,
yeah,
didn't you?
not yeah, of course, not just almost. We really had to. Of course, we had the legacy of the old
Right.
songs and the old albums, but here we are starting everything from scratch again with basically, new lineup and no producer and no label and no shows lined up. So it was a lot of work to get the whole machine up and running again. But if you have fun with what you're doing, if you have the dedication, then anything is possible.
It is. And the last one, of course, Too Mean to Die, came out in 2021. So, kind of as you're starting to put together a set list, I know you've been playing shows overseas. As you're starting to put together a set list for America, do you rely pretty heavily on that last album, Too Mean to Die, and some of the newer material, or kind of how difficult is it trying to put together a set list for this American tour?
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing it long enough. It's kind of, you go by experience. I sort of know what fans like most. I know that which classic songs we have to play, but then we always try to surprise the fans a little bit and ourselves too. And we've done that more than ever lately, where we take some nuts, some deeper cuts from albums we haven't played so much, or songs we haven't really played to death yet. So just to keep it a little interesting, and we've done. As far as the new songs, we've done up to 5, because we've just played a bunch of festival shows, a lot this summer. I'm actually calling from London right now, and we've been over here in Europe. for the last 3 months playing festival shows, and we've done as many as 5 new songs per set, and they go
Wow.
down great. People love them because I mean these are very live worthy, well playable songs, and people get into them. So it's a good album that really needs to be represented.
Well, it absolutely does. And I think Accept is one of those bands, maybe akin to an AC/DC, where there's a formula that works and you've rarely strayed from that formula, and people love that. Your fans love it. You know what the fans like and what they expect from an Accept album. You don't throw in a lot of sappy ballads, and you don't differ from that formula. And I think that's worked so well for the band over the years. And that's not to say that your music doesn't have diversity, because it does. But man, people want that fist pumping metal in your face, and you guys provide that, and very well, I might add.
Well, thank you very much. Actually, on this new album, we do have a sappy ballad.
Is this breaking? Is that right? So that I was going to ask about this new album. So talk.
I don't like to think of it being as sappy, but it's called "The Best Is Yet to Come," and people love it. We've actually played that song live. It's kind of an unusual song for us, but we've done it with great success, and we might just play it here and there, and absolutely.
That would be kind of more okay. That song would be more akin to me to, like, I don't know, a Metallica's "Fade to Black," where I wouldn't consider that like a like
I know
every rose has its thorn. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's very
it's
like
good.
Deep lyrics, and like, yeah, it's very, but yeah, musically slower, maybe some more time changes, but yeah, absolutely, I totally get that. So as this gets underway, we've heard talk of maybe a new Accept album coming here in maybe 2023. Just kind of update fans where that process is, and where maybe when fans can expect a new Accept album.
Well, slow down, my man. We just have made a new album, which we haven't even toured yet. But no, of course, there's going to be a new Accept album. It's basically just started to be, we start up the whole process of getting in motion for writing songs, and that to me means I'm just gathering material. I'm getting bits and pieces together. Don't really, well, I have 1 or 2 songs that might almost be complete, but the rest is just fragments here and there. So it's going to be a few months before we have enough material together to really go into the studio. Maybe after this next European tour, we'll go think about recording some of this stuff. And it depends a little bit on Andy Sneap, our producer, because as you might know, he's in Judas Priest now. And so when they're touring, and they're touring a lot these days, then obviously he's not available. So we have to find a window of opportunity to actually get him, because we definitely want to work with him again.
See, I'm such a fan of the new stuff, and I'm like trying to hurry this along. I'm like, yeah, I know there was just a new album, but when's the next one? This is high demand here. This is good.
More.
Right?
I know.
Well, so you're a part of a 3 guitar lineup here, and some bands.
Yeah, that's something.
It's amazing. And I wanted to ask you about that, because there's bands. Iron Maiden does it well. Alice Cooper does it well. What's it kind of like for you? You are, as they say, you're the lone survivor. You are the man. You put this Accept as yours at this point. You are the last man standing, so to speak. So what's it like kind of trying to split up those guitar duties? And for someone like me, I'm not a guitar player, but whenever I see bands like Maiden or Alice Cooper, like I try to look for who's playing what, and like who's playing leads. Are they layered over the top of each other? Just kind of talk about the dynamics of making that 3 guitar sound work in a live setting.
Yeah. Well, you have to understand, the studio is the studio. You can do anything in the studio.
Right.
I can be there and layering 20 guitar tracks on top of each other, and it sounded like a guitar orchestra. But when it comes to a live show, we always, of course, have to represent what's on the album, and you have to cut some corners, because you only have 2 guitar players normally. Now we have 3, which means we can actually pick and choose our parts from the album that we like to include in live shows, and that's a lot of fun. We just went through the old tracks and listened to the studio recording, and then sort of decide, hey, Phil, you can play that clean guitar there, and I play this part, or we can actually play a twin harmony, and we still have Uwe playing rhythm guitar. So I mean, the choices are not endless, but much wider. We've got a lot more to offer, basically. And I have to say, I wasn't 1,000% convinced when we had the idea. I just liked Phil a lot when we found him, and I said we don't want to let him go, because he was filling in on one tour for Uwe. on this orchestra run. That's how we've discovered what a nice guy and what a phenomenal player Phil is. And so I wasn't, when we made the decision, hey, let's keep Phil on. I thought, is there even enough room for a third guy? How's it going to sound? Is it going to sound muddy? Is it going to just mess things up or what? Because I would never quite done it, to be honest. But man, we tried it and worked on it, and it's killer. We all love it. Everybody in the band loves it, and the people who have seen Accept now, they tell me you guys sound better than ever. It's just, adds a certain flavor to it. So I'm
Yeah.
really looking forward to bringing that to America.
Yeah, especially the latest few albums. I think that material lends itself almost to that. And you guys are adding guitarists. Well, Judas Priest is trying to get rid of guitarists. They tried to do one, and people are like, no, we can't have Judas Priest with just one guitarist. And so maybe you guys are now painted into that to three. You can't give it up now. Like Iron Maiden has had Yannick in there, for 30 years. So you guys, I guess this is your life going forward now, which is great.
There you go. No, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be fantastic.
Is there enough stage room for all of you? That's where it gets kind of crowded, right?
Well, it depends on the stage. I mean, sometimes we play stages where they're just massive and you hardly see each other on stage, but it depends. I mean, this is going to be a club tour, so it's going to be, of course, it's going to be smaller stages for sure. But that's going to have its own charm. These club shows are sometimes fantastic fun. People always ask, like, is it more fun to play on a massive festival stage, or is it better to play in a club? And I have to say there's advantages and aspects to both that are fun. Massive. I mean, we all have that ego thing, the bigger the better. And if there's 50,000 people, that's better than 20,000 people and all that. But the downside is you hardly get any contact with the people anymore on these massive festival stages, because the first people are like so far away. But that's where club comes in. You really are in close to the audience, and you get that immediate feedback and immediate vibe, the facial expressions, all that stuff, sweat and viruses and all that cool stuff.
You know what? I'm up for it all. Whatever's out there. I don't care anymore. I love live music too much to ever give that up again. Was COVID a tough time for you guys, or was it, you were able to make the album and maybe take some time, or was it very difficult to just sit there and not know what was going to come next with regards to touring?
It sucked. I have to tell you the truth. It was like a dark hole. And it was also the hard part for me was also not knowing when it's going to continue. To me, it felt like sitting at an airport, and when they tell you the plane is delayed 30 minutes, and you wait 30 minutes, and then you think, oh, it's going to be another 30 minutes. But before you know it, you've sat there for 4 hours and thinking, well, shit, I had to have known up front. Would they just have told me it's going to take 4 hours? I could have done something useful with my time, but so that's what COVID felt like to me, because so I was not creative at all, to be honest, during that time.
That's a good analogy. It just felt like this never ending situation that nobody had any answers for. And it was just like, it was a really dark time for me, because I travel all over the place, concerts, and I was just like, what's this come to? Am I gonna have to like get a real job or something? Luckily did not. Don't worry, did not have to do that.
The not knowing was a hard part. Had somebody told us in March 2021 or whenever it's all started, hey guys, take a 2-year break and do something and take the time off and write new material, it would have been one thing. But we always thought, like, a couple of months more and it's going to continue and we can be out on the road again and but that obviously never happened until now.
Well, it's definitely in a positive direction now. That's what we can take from this. I kind of want to ask about your upbringing, because you grew up, of course, in West Germany, and you form Accept in the mid to late 70s, 1976, and just I want to hear about some of like your influences growing up in West Germany. Like, what was popular there kind of as you were coming up? And then you have a band like the Scorpions that they're not to give anyone's ages, but they're old, they're way older than you, Wolf. So they were coming up as you were, still pretty young, right? So was that a band that you kind of looked to? I mean, or were there other bands? And because I know you have a classical background as well. So kind of what was your upbringing when it comes to music?
Well, there's a lot of different things you mentioned there. So the bands that I grew up listening to, as in the 70s and whatnot was basically mostly British bands. There was
Mm-hmm.
Uriah Heep, there was Deep
Deep
Purple, huge
Purple.
influence. Judas Priest, somewhere in there. There was Status Quo, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet and Slade and well, even Queen and bands like that. That was on our radar, you know. And I think the heaviest influences on our music was Deep Purple, Judas Priest, and AC/DC. So that's obviously the stuff we listened to and paid attention to. And yeah, I come from a household that's totally not rock and roll. You know, my
Right.
family my father was a chemistry professor, and he listened to nothing but classical music. So that was around the house, but I never appreciated it growing up. So that's why I went into heavy metal, because I just wanted to shock the parents and make a bunch of noise and let my hair grow long and all that cool stuff that was important to us back then, you know. And I just kind of rediscovered classical music through the back door in my 20s, and I really paid attention more to it, and I found
Wow.
how beautiful it is. But I wasn't brought up as a classical musician at all. No, not
Sure.
at all.
So did you guys ever play any
Oh
show
yeah, you
the
were asking me.
Scorpions?
Sorry,
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
you were asking me about the Scorpions. Yeah, the Scorpions were always a big influence on us. Not so much musically, because they were more pop oriented and rock. We were
especially early
heavier.
on. Early on.
Yeah, I know, but they influenced us because they were the first band to have international success out of Germany, and that was a big deal in those days. Because I mean, even when we went to America, people paid attention. Wow, there's a German band, and they toured in America. And when we came back to our homeland, that was almost like a hero's welcome. It's really true. Back then, you weren't taken seriously unless you were part of that American and British group of
Mm,
bands and such. And all of a sudden, we were with one foot in that group, if you know what I mean.
yeah.
So that was a big deal for us to finally go to America and go around the world. And but the Scorpions were always way ahead of us, and they kind of opened the door for us in that regard.
Yeah. Tremendous band. They're touring
And they're
America
still
as
out
well.
there kicking ass. They're great. I mean, they're amazing. And yeah, they are older than we are, and they're still out there. I admired them back then, and I still admire them now.
Oh, tremendous. Yeah. Gonna try to I'll probably be seeing you and the Scorpions within a couple weeks of each other, trying to figure out because I'm in Kansas City, right here in the Midwest. You guys are doing a lot of Texas dates, kind of East and West Coast. So trying to figure out, I'm not, whenever Vegas pops up on someone's tour routing, I'm like, you know what? It's always a good opportunity to get to Vegas. So, and you guys are playing, I think, the Whiskey on this tour, which is a great venue to classic, historic, all that. So you guys got a lot of great venues that you're playing on this tour, and people are just looking forward to it, man. Wolf, I hope that the tour is a massive success. I'm going to see it at
Thank
some
you very
point.
much. Yeah, if
And
somebody wants to check out the dates, please go to acceptworldwide.com. And if you're into VIP experience things, just check it out. There's all the links available. We'd love to see everybody, of course. That'd be great. Yeah.
Wolf, that was great. You did my job for me. I'm just the one that's supposed to point everybody towards all the websites and stuff, and you just knocked it out.
Yeah.
That's great. Well,
Well, I knew you would
yeah,
forget, so I better jump in there.
you did great. Well, so yeah, real quick before we let you go, you mentioned the VIPs, and I think that's something that even as concerts have come back, there's been a lot of bands hesitant to do that. Like, oh, what if someone tests positive for COVID? I think that those VIPs are such an important thing for fans, and not I know for bands it can be difficult to stand there and shake hands and take a bunch of pictures. But do you like doing the VIPs? Because I think it's an important thing, and it's a way for bands to really interact with fans before a concert, and the fans really feel like they got something extra from it. And with you guys, you get a bunch of different gifts and guitar picks and stuff like that as well. So I highly recommend that experience with you guys.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's great. And we love doing it. We always like meeting fans anyhow. And usually the VIP people are the diehard fans that really bring their special collector's item for us to sign or something that means a lot to them. So those are people that really appreciate when you do meet them. And as far as COVID and things, I think if we're reasonably careful, it's going to be all right. I mean, we're not going to hide behind a plexiglass cage or anything, but maybe we can do the thing
Yeah,
instead of the handshake, and that's totally socially acceptable nowadays and totally fine, right?
yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, I hope you all check out Accept on this tour. I will definitely be there. Wolf, it's been a huge pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us from across the pond there. It's quite a bit later than it is here. Just getting up here. It's like 11 o'clock on a, whatever, on a Thursday. Yeah, it's Thursday. And for you, it's like almost bedtime. So we'll let you go, Wolf, and we can't thank you enough, my friend.
It's party time, my man. It's always party time.
Oh man, I envy it. I love it. Thank you so much, sir. Have a
All
great
right,
tour.
my friend. Take care.